Hello everybody and welcome to episode 3 of All the Mods to the Sky. I'm actually going to remember to record the title for this video instead of doing what I did for the last video. Anyway, in between episodes I have added flux points to all of these to tidy up the cables. I desperately needed to do this because the cable which was running through here is just getting messy, and the flux plugs, they can be placed anywhere and wirelessly transfer the RF. Today's episode though, I would like to upgrade this reactor and convert it into a reactor turbine combo because that's just the best for efficiency and we still need more power production. But before we do the power production, I would very much like to set up one of these crushers. We are going to need this to be able to craft cyanide up to actually be able to auto-craft the turbine. Yeah, we can now request cyanide ingots through the lovely ability of auto-crafting. To actually be able to craft this turbine, also we need plutonium ingots, which comes from a cyanide reprocessor. Plutonium ingots. Right, turbine terminal. This is the controller for the turbine which we need. The turbine size which I'm going to be building is going to be a 7x7 external, so the internal will be 5x5. So without further ado, let's begin building. Okay, well, this is the completed turbine which I'm going to be using. This thing should produce a pretty decent amount of power once we hook it up to this reactor. And the coils which I'm going to be using are going to be made out of enderium, because that's the highest thing which we can make except for ludocrite, which I could make this, but we're not going to because I'm going to be lazy. We'll upgrade to this later on. I'm going to start off with crafting 32 enderium blocks. That's probably going to take a little bit of time since this is going to be going through the induction smelter, which we have set up. Yeah, going to take a little bit of time. In the meantime, I'm going to set up the fluid inputs and outputs for the turbine and the reactor. Just a little side note, you can wrench these to select inputs and outputs. This one's input for hot fluids. This one is output for coolant. So I want input hot fluids up here, output cold here. And this one, since this is an output for cold, we want this one to be input cold, then output hot. The fluid pipes for the steam output are actually going to be the pressurized tubes. These will just output and have a lot more throughput than the mechanical pipes. I now have enough enderium blocks to actually finish this turbine. So all we need to do is prime this system. The way I'm priming it is I'm using one of these sinks from Cooking for Blockheads. It's an infinite water source, basically. How we doing? We've got water. Should have steam in here. Let's start off with placing some of these enderium blocks. They need to be placed around the turbine rotor shaft for this to actually work properly. Lovely. That it's formed. Then we get to tweak how much steam input this is going to need. It is definitely not going to need 25 buckets per tick. I won't bore you with the details, but how you actually tune one of these turbines, the optimal flow rate for these turbines is based on the coil tier you use. However, the RPM for the Enderium coils has to be, for the optimal energy output, 1798 RPM. That's using a spreadsheet online from FTB's wiki. Don't know if that information is 100% accurate, but it's fairly close in actually building this turbine to that data. Okay, well, considering this thing produces just shy of 100,000 RF per take, I don't think I'm going to worry about redstone controlling this. And the fuel burn rate isn't terrible. I mean, it's quick, but it's not. I think I can live with that. And this now means that all of these machines can be upgraded. I had to take the upgrades out of here because they were drawing too much energy. Right, well, I am very happy with this turbine, and this can definitely be upgraded in the future. Once we have more resources, it's going to be upgraded. Remember when I said I wouldn't be using redstone to control the turbine or the reactor? I was just going to leave it on. Well, I have fallen in love with this. This is a program running through Computercraft Tweaked, and it is amazing. I just want to say something. I did not create the program to actually run this reactor. Instead, I just had a look on the internet and I came up with one which works for this version of Minecraft. So I will link it in the description so that you can actually have a look at the code for this. And so that if you want to have the reactor controlled like it, you can. But what this basically does is it reads the energy inside this energy cube. When it gets below 50% energy stored in this, it will turn on the reactor and it will turn on this turbine. It will then fill this up to 80%, turn off the reactor, then it will leave the turbine running, and the rundown of the RPM, because it stores energy and it has to basically spool down. Then once it gets over 80%, it will completely stop. The rundown will still produce energy and we'll still get it out of it until it completely stops like it is now. Then once it gets below 50, it will repeat. It is absolutely amazing. Bestest thing I've actually had running this turbine. You should see that when it gets below 50%, it should turn everything back on. Yep. Reactor's on, turbine spinning, the coils are disengaged, so it gets the RPM up to its most efficient RPM. Then once it's there, coils are engaged, producing power. Now it'll charge up. Then it's over 80%, reactor's off now, but the coils are still engaged, so still producing energy while it's just running down. Oh, this thing is so cool. I would highly recommend that if you are playing anything and you have these computers and you have big reactors, you can definitely set this up, and it's so much helpful. It increases the efficiency of this reactor, so instead of this running flat out when we're not actually using the energy, it will just turn it off. It does what I wanted it to. And with that, I can now move on to something else. The base is powered. We won't have to worry about that anymore. So I'm going to worry about deep mob evolution because I would like basically automatic mobs without mobs actually being in the world. So remember the sheep data model which I created? Well, we can't actually start using this in the simulation chambers until we level it up. So we need the deep learner. We can place this in here. Then we basically need to kill 6 sheep in order to charge this. To make these sheep spawn faster, I'm going to make some delightful dirt from mob grinding utilities. It's really simple to make as long as you can get experience for the nutritious chicken feed and you have the correct materials to make the nutritious chicken feed. XP, I can get this from standing on top of one of these XP drained singularity tanks. It's absorbing the XP. And then just like that, we have the nutritious chicken feed. Now we get to feed this to the only chicken which is currently on my island. If I can actually find it, where is it?
Happy birthday, Taco!
That's a really good animation. I very much enjoyed that. Then we just click this in the center and it needs to be daylight. Then this will just spawn peaceful mobs. Okay, basic data model. We can now take the sheep data model out of here. We can now place it over here and this should start leveling up in the simulation chamber. So now over time this will reach the highest tier of data model it can be, and the predictions I want to send straight into this loot fabricator, and I will set this to produce wool. Right, the sheep prediction needs to be filtered to go into the loot fabricator, whereas the overworld matter needs to be filtered to go into the storage drawer. I'll now set this pipe to extract from the loot fabricator, then tell the loot fabricator to only craft wool. Now setting this up so that it will stock the prediction matrix so that we can set this up passively. So, prediction matrix, these can now be inserted through the ME system into the simulation chamber. And I've built this so that we can expand this in the future. All of the outputs will go through this loot fabricator, but only for the simulation chamber which we had. I'm going to have these so that we can have a row of them. The wool is going to store in these drawers and the generalized overworld predictions. Then I have a storage controller with a storage bus on that so that the ME system can see all of the contents of the drawers. So we should see wool being stored in the storage system. And we do. That's great. And if you were wondering why I did a sheep prediction, we need the wool to make smart cables from Applied Energistics. Well, I could not have seen this happening. Some of the footage which I had got corrupted, and this section was going to be me collecting some blaze rods and blaze data models and wither data models. But yes, the footage for that had got corrupted. So instead we'll move straight on to making this tree farm. It has also been brought to my attention that we have quite a lack of logs, so we can't craft any wood planks, we can't craft storage drawers, we can't craft anything which has wood related to it. However, I have a plan to fix all of this. I have a big tree farm from Create, which I want to build. I spent a little bit of time designing it a few days ago, and now I just want to share this with you on the tree farm which I've decided to create. To begin Create, it's fairly simple. We just need andesite alloy. Craft the andesite alloy. I'm going to be crafting it through the matter infuser, since this thing is incredibly quick and really simple to make andesite alloy. I know that we're going to need plenty of these shafts, plenty of these cogwheels, plenty large cogwheels. We are going to need oh so many of these linear chassis. The next machines which I'm going to need are going to be 32 of these deployers, which means that we have a lot of electron tubes to craft and brass plates. The brass can be made in the induction smelter. Yeah, to get this polished to rose quartz, you can either use the sandpaper polishing, which is like this, or another way, because we actually have mechanism, is to craft it in the enrichment chamber. It's more simple to do it in the enrichment chamber. The other thing which we need to make are these andesite casings. I just need to strip all of these logs, then right-clicking andesite alloy on them will turn them into andesite casings. And like I said, I don't think I did say this actually, I need about 2 stacks of these. 2 stacks of andesite casings later. I'm also going to need a handful of iron plates, so we might as well craft a lot of these. So this should be, I need 60 of these saws. Then 32 deployers, which are the same recipe as creating the andesite casings, but instead of andesite alloy, you use brass ingots. A couple of these redstone links, which also require brass casings. And we're also going to need a handful of redstone, handful of redstone repeaters. I think that this is most of the prep work ready. We also need one of these gantry carriages. I'll just grab 2 stacks of gantry shafts, one of these gear shifts, 3 chests, 4 of these logistical sorters, handful of logistical transporters, then 3 storage drawers, all for different items, saplings, sticks, logs, and apples. Are you excited for this? Oh, this is a lot of items, but it's going to be an amazing tree farm. Next, it is time I map out where this tree farm is actually going to go. So my plan is to have machines going sort of that way. Shall we? Let's do the tree farm here. Okay, well, this is the entire area for this tree farm completely cleared out. I'm going to try and build the redstone logic first, and then we'll actually build the machine. So the redstone logic for this, I'm trying to do this from memory also. Yeah, the redstone logic is going to be one of these powered RS latches. This is going to go straight into a redstone link. This toggle latch is going to also have a timer. This will be every 800 ticks, it will send a 1 tick pulse, which will then toggle this on and off. The reset state signal to turn this basically off is going to come this way. This will be the redstone control so that we can actually turn this on and off. So you can see that just turned this on, which is now powering the redstone link. So we can have another redstone link there. So this is the logic which we need for this. So that's now the on-off switch. So when the redstone is off, it's on. I'm inverting that. I've tweaked the redstone logic. So this will now operate when the lever's off, redstone is off. The tree farm will be turned off. When it's on, the farm will be on. Capiche? Capiche. So let's leave that off. That will then disable this. Now it's time to build this thing. It is massive. Better start building. And to actually be able to power this monstrosity, we need some type of rotational energy. Now, you could do that with water wheels, but we're going to do it with steam engines because these are just so much more nicer to craft. And the fun thing about Create is we need to speed up these. The way that you speed up things, you can do a big gear to a little gear, and then you want to repeat this until you get a faster speed. And the size of this boiler does not really matter. And if you're wondering the reason why I'm using campfires, it's because we can set this up so it's passive. So this is the setup for the steam engine. Then all we do is pump in some water and it will start producing rotational energy very nicely. So you can see it's completely passive. We don't need to run fuel through it. Now, I don't know what this is going to do when we first build all of this, when we first connect it to the rotational force. Okay, so it looks like it's not going to move. Then if we flick this, yeah, it moves. It's alive. Then we can bring it back by turning this on again. So this is the position which we want this in before we actually set it so that it's completely automated. So this is the main redstone logic for this contraption. It will send it this way, but it won't return it once the timer has finished. So I'm going to leave it in that position. Then over here, it does not matter where I place this as long as it's part of this contraption and it doesn't get in the way of the chests which are going to be on that side. So I'll place a redstone block. This will go into another redstone link, which is going to be sapling log, and then it returns. I'm honestly so happy to see that. So just to show this again, when the timer drops, it will flip this, and then it will send the contraption all the way to the end, harvesting the trees. Once it reaches the end, it will then send it all the way back for the cycle to then continue. So that's the contraption moving. We now need to work on how we store the items. To do that, we need these logistical sorters. So over this end, I will place 3 chests, all separate like this, 3 of these logistical sorters. So then these 2 are just going to set to auto eject when this comes back, every item which is in these. This one, I want this to be filled for everything except saplings. Then we can return that into this storage drawer. We might end up moving the location of this to somewhere more sensible. Then this one, I want to filter only saplings. And that's going to fill up this chest full of saplings. So this is the main automation. Shall we turn it on? Are you ready to watch this go? So we'll flick that on. That should enable the redstone logic, and now we wait. This might be the bestest tree farm I have ever built. Quite literally, I have not made anything as nice as this. It's amazing. It looks really pretty, and I am going to tidy it up a lot. We've got to build the base around it in the future. But this is like I love the create mod. I just need to say that. It's the best. Just looking at the video length, I'm going to have to wrap up the episode. I do have to just say something though, before I wrap up. If you're having trouble with building a tree farm like this, with FTB chunks basically claiming, or it's weird. If Create tries to break something which is in your claim without permission, it won't be able to break it. If you're having that issue, the way that I have solved it to still work is to edit your team in this menu. And I've just set it so that block editing is now public. And that has fixed Create being able to break blocks inside my claim. So that's how you fix it. But anyway, as always, I hope you've enjoyed as much as I've enjoyed building this amazing tree farm. I very much hope to see you all again some other time. Take care, everyone.